Cops are trained to handle danger, chaos, and crime, but nothing prepares them for the supernatural. Captured live on Bodycam. These horrifying encounters show police officers coming face to face with the unexplained. Are these real ghosts, or something far worse? Watch closely and judge for yourself. An officer was passing by an abandoned house on the outskirts of Beckley, West Virginia, late one night when a strange growling sound coming from inside stopped him. He stepped inside and called out, asking if anyone was there, but silence followed. Something brushed past behind him, but when he spun around, nothing was there. The growling started again, closer this time. He pushed open a door and found a frightening figure standing motionless in the corner. His body cam was recovered from that same spot, but he was never found.
Get on the ground! Right now! Trinidad King 1, did you copy that?
Unseen force. One Monday night, a security guard was on his usual rounds at a factory in Macon, Georgia, when a strange sound left him shocked near the electrical room. The inverter door was swinging open and slamming shut on its own, over and over, with nobody near it. Curious, he moved closer to get a better look, expecting to find a loose hinge. But nothing was holding or pushing it. He stood there watching and trying to figure out what was causing it to happen. But only one possibility convinced him that something paranormal was causing it. Dark hospital entity. One of our subscribers recently sent in this clip from his night shift at a hospital. Walking down a corridor, his body cam picked up something rushing past from right to left. It was a smoky shape with no clear form. At almost the same moment, the lid on a trash bin in the corner started rattling on its own, though nobody was near it. He followed the direction the shadow had gone, but found nothing there. With no explanation for either the shape or the movement, he became convinced it was a ghost. Strange church man. One morning in Houston, Texas, an on-duty police officer responded to a call at a local church. As he walked inside, his body camera recorded something he never expected. A man was standing quietly near the altar, staring at a large cross. Without warning, he grabbed it tightly, let out a terrifying scream, and suddenly collapsed to the floor. His body began shaking. Unsure if it was a medical emergency or something far more disturbing, the officer quickly called for backup. The man was later taken to a nearby hospital for treatment. Bizarre forest figure. For weeks, locals in Hot Springs, Arkansas, had been talking about something moving through the woods behind their homes. An officer decided to check it out himself one night, walking deep into the tree line with his flashlight raised. Then he saw it, standing upright between the trunks, motionless, with sharp, pointy ears. It didn't move, didn't run, just stood there as it belonged. The officer backed away slowly and left the forest, avoiding any further trouble.
Yeah, listen, there it is again.
Woman rescued. A police officer received a disturbing call on the 16th of October, 2023. A frightened woman told him she believed a young woman was being held against her will inside the garage of the house next door. She said she had heard a man yelling.
I don't know what's wrong with this girl.
Oh, there's a girl in there with him?
Yes, I told them this. There's a girl in there, she's very small and slim. My husband said he didn't really get a good look at her, but he's yelling at her. Before I peeked over her face, she can't see out of her eyes.
Okay.
Realizing the situation could be dangerous, the officer called for backup and went to check the property. After getting no response from inside the locked garage, the officers forced their way in. They found the woman inside with the suspect. The woman was taken to the hospital, and the man was arrested on kidnapping charges.
Right, just keep coming. Watch your step. Right there. You get that? There's a female in there.
Restroom encounter. An officer pulled over at a rest stop along Interstate 70 near Hays, Kansas late one night to use the restroom during his shift. The lights were out, and he was all alone. As he stepped inside, a loud banging started from one of the stalls, over and over, like something was hitting it from the inside. He stood frozen for a second before looking down and catching pale legs from beneath the stall door. That was enough. He turned and ran straight back to his car, convinced that the stall wasn't empty and that something haunting was living inside. Backyard anomaly. Just a year ago, a young man in Flagstaff, Arizona, called 911 in the middle of the night after seeing something standing in his backyard. He described it as a tall, humanoid figure, upright and motionless, staring straight at his window.
Do you live here?
Oh, yeah, I live here. I live inside the house. I'm
Okay.
the one who called.
Is there someone in the backyard that you don't know?
No, he's in his backyard. He's standing on the porch looking at me with his phone, talking. He's right there.
Officers arrived within minutes and swept the entire yard with their flashlights, but found nothing. The man stayed convinced of what he had seen, even as officers left without an explanation for it. Dark apparition. Back in 2023, a police officer was passing by an old, abandoned building late one night when a strange sound coming from inside made him stop. Curious, he walked toward it with his flashlight on. That's when a dark shadow slipped right past him, before vanishing into the darkness. Then he noticed another shadow standing motionless in the window. Terrified, he ran away, left convinced that the building was haunted by a ghost. La Llorona. A military officer was walking through the lobby after his shift, heading toward his quarters, when something stunned him. A figure appeared out of nowhere, crawling low across the floor in a stained, ragged dress. Its pale hands were tipped with long, sharp nails, and long black hair covered its face completely. It rose up in front of him and slowly raised a finger, pointing straight at him. That was the last thing he remembered before losing consciousness. When he came to, he was convinced he had come face to face with La Llorona, the weeping witch spoken of in old stories. Frightening presence. A ranger was doing his usual night rounds when something near the staircase caught his attention. A plush toy was sitting on the stairs. When he looked again, there was something even more mysterious. Standing partly hidden behind the stairs was a figure with a pale face, completely motionless. When he finally stepped closer to check, there was nothing there. No footprints, no sign that anyone had been standing in that spot. He left convinced that what he had been watching was a witch.
Gente. ¿Qué pasó? Gente, se apagó todo.
Ghost child. A team of rangers searching an abandoned house for a suspect stopped cold when their flashlight landed on a small figure, which appeared to be a child, standing motionless in one of the doorways. Curious and a little uneasy, they moved closer to see who it was. Before they could reach the doorway, it slammed shut on its own. But the figure stayed there, not even moving its hand. That was the moment they realized that it was a ghost child. Escalator witch. A security guard was on his night shift inside a shopping mall when the escalator suddenly started moving on its own, rising to the upper floor. Curious, he walked closer just in time to catch a glimpse. Standing there was a figure in a long white dress, with hair hanging loose and covering her face, resembling a witch. The mall had been locked for hours, with no one else around. Spooked, he didn't wait, left his shift early, convinced he had seen a witch.
Mostrar que ninguém acredita em mim. Meu Deus do céu.
Theater encounter. An officer had heard the old theater near Savannah, Georgia, was haunted, so one night he went inside alone to see for himself. He sat down in one of the empty seats, with his camera running when something behind him shifted and he flinched. Curious, as he explored further, a door ahead of him creaked open with nobody near it. When he stepped inside, a pale figure stood there, long dark hair covering half its face, mouth open, eyes hollow. He ran straight out, convinced he had just seen a witch, and never returned to his job again.
Here again, and we'll take a look.
Ghostly push. One Sunday night, an officer was walking through a market in Rockford, Illinois, checking that vendors closed up by midnight, when something stopped him mid-step. A row of chairs stacked near one of the stalls began sliding across the floor on their own, with no visible source. He stood there for a moment, watching carefully, thinking maybe the ground was uneven or something had been knocked loose, but the chairs kept moving. Convinced it wasn't anything ordinary, he backed away and left the market, sure that something invisible had been behind it.
Okay.
Possessed woman. On March 10th, 2022, a family in Zalpi, Poland, called 911 after hearing terrifying screams coming from a nearby house. When police arrived, they searched the home and found a woman named Kamika hiding in the attic. Her face was unusually pale, her hair was a mess, and she was making strange growling sounds like an animal. The officers tried to calm her down, but she became more violent and started throwing things. A paramedic later examined her, but could not find any clear medical reason for her behavior. With no logical explanation, a priest was eventually called to perform an exorcism. Roadside witch. Two officers were driving down a road surrounded by thick bushes near Eureka Springs, Arkansas, when something ahead made them pull over. Standing in the middle of the road was a hunched figure in a long white dress, with black hair hanging loosely over its face. For a moment, it stayed still. Then it started moving slowly toward the car. They reversed and turned onto a different road entirely. They had heard stories for years about a witch said to haunt that stretch of forest, and after that night, they finally believed them. Demonical woman. On the 6th of December, 2024, police responded to a home in Knoxville, Tennessee, after neighbors reported hearing loud crying and screaming from inside. A woman met the officers outside and told them her 21-year-old daughter, Angela, was possessed. She also said she was speaking with a pastor on the phone for help. A few moments later, Angela came outside looking frightened. The officers tried to calm her, but she refused to speak with the pastor. As she went back inside to grab the phone, she suddenly became aggressive. Officers restrained her as she repeatedly cried, "Grandma, Grandma," even though her grandmother had passed away years earlier. She also kept saying she did not want to go to hell, leaving everyone at the scene unsettled.
Here, I will.
My grandma! 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 My grandma! 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 Grandma!
Disturbing voicemails. On August 14th, 2024, a man in Tucson, Arizona, called the police after waking up to something very disturbing. He had separated from his ex-wife but still stayed in contact with her because they shared custody of their children. Around 2 a.m., he noticed several voicemails from her. When he played the messages, she sounded scared and confused, claiming she was hiding in nearby bushes. As the officers listened, the recordings became stranger and more unsettling. Even the police officer was disturbed and repeatedly asked if the voice really belonged to his ex-wife. Soul's giggle. On the 14th of August, 2018, a woman in Wichita, Kansas, called police and a K9 team after hearing strange sounds in her house for days. The handler stepped inside with his dog and began checking room by room, guiding him toward a small blue toy on the floor to test where the noise had come from. As he moved closer, he heard something soft, a child's giggle, coming from an empty corner. The house had no children living in it. Later, the woman shared that her younger son had passed away 3 years earlier, and she believed it might be his spirit that came to visit her.
Go in there and step on that little blue thing and see if that's where that noise came.
Yeah, it sounded like a kid toy.
It might. It sort of sounds like it.
Truck phantom. Back in 2023, an army man parked his truck in the lot late one night after a long shift and was about to leave when a strange sound stopped him. The cabin door of his truck had swung open on its own, with no one anywhere near it.
So yeah, it's time to go.
He stood there for a moment, unsure what to do next. He remembered a colleague once warning him that this same parking lot had a history of paranormal sightings. Not wanting to check any closer, he turned and walked away, convinced that a ghost had opened his cabin door.
So yeah, it's time to go.
Unseen visitor. One night, a security guard was on his shift at a university in Bandung, Indonesia, when a loud banging sound coming from the basement stopped him in his tracks. As he walked toward the stairs, he felt like something was peeking out from behind the wall, just out of sight. Curious, he headed down, and that's when the door ahead of him started banging on its own, over and over. He pushed it open and caught a dark shape moving through the room, before vanishing. Terrified, he walked out and rushed home, never returning to that job again. Terrifying encounter. A woman in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, called police after sensing something strange for 3 days. An officer walked through with his flashlight, checking every room carefully. As he reached the hallway, the bedroom door creaked open on its own, with no one near it. He stepped inside and searched everything, closets, corners, under the bed, but found nothing except a dark shadow slipping past him and out of the room. There was no sign of a break-in anywhere. He told the woman there was no intruder, but something ghostly may have been sharing her home. Highway Phantom. An officer was on a late-night patrol on a highway outside Amarillo, Texas, when his dashcam caught something darting across the road ahead of him. It wasn't a deer or any animal he recognized, just a smoky, shapeless figure moving fast before vanishing into the dark on the other side. He slowed down, pulled over, and walked the area with his flashlight, but found nothing there. Locals had long claimed that stretch of highway was haunted, and after that night, the officer was inclined to believe them. Possessed stranger. One afternoon, a police officer was on routine patrol near an Ultimart convenience store on Marcos Paulino Avenue, San Pablo City, when he noticed a woman taking something out of a parked truck. Believing she might be involved in a theft, he quickly walked toward her. The moment she saw him, she began screaming and rushed in his direction. The officer raised his hand and repeatedly told her to stop. Suddenly, she dropped down to the ground but kept screaming in a strange, unsettling way. Her movements didn't seem normal, leaving the officer unsure if he was dealing with someone in distress or something far more mysterious. Levitating witch. An officer woke up around 4 in the morning to a chilling sound coming from outside his window. Curious, he got up to check and froze at what he saw. A strange figure was hovering in the mid-air, glowing faintly under the streetlight, with nothing holding it up. He watched it for several minutes, too stunned to move, until it slowly faded from view. He couldn't fall back asleep the rest of the night, convinced that what he had seen was a witch lingering outside his home. Backyard visitor. On the 1st of May, 2023, a family in Las Vegas, Nevada, called 911 after watching something strange drop low over their house. They described a large craft in the sky, followed by a tall creature with an alien appearance standing in their backyard.
We was working, and we just see in a corner of our eye something fall down from the sky, and it was with light. And when it hit down, it was like a big impact, and we felt it. We felt like an energy, and then we hear like a lot of footsteps near us, and then we have a big equipment, and we see, and there's like an 8-foot person beside it, and another one's inside, and it has big eyes and looking at us, and it's still there.
Officers arrived and were led straight to the spot, but found nothing there. Strangely, the officers spotted a green light in the sky around the same time, as if it was something not from this world. Strange dark entity. An officer was walking up to his porch after finishing a long night shift in Macon, Georgia, when something near the corner of his yard caught his eye. A dark figure stood there, motionless, half hidden by the shadows near the fence. He stopped walking and stared at it for a few seconds, waiting to see if it would move. It didn't. Not until it simply faded away into the dark. He checked the spot the next morning but found nothing unusual. So, he shared the clip with us to ask you what it might be.
Domino, what is that? What the hell is that? Hey!
Office ghost. A security guard was on his night shift at an office in Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia, going around checking that all the computers were powered off before locking up. As he moved through one of the aisles, something behind him made a sound like a chair being pushed back. But when he turned around, no one was there.
Look at all these laptops. Oh. No.
The office had been empty for hours, and he was the only one on shift. Spooked, he didn't bother finishing his rounds. He grabbed his things and left straight for home, convinced that he had encountered a ghost. Lobby shadow. An officer was on his night shift at the police station in Salem, Massachusetts, walking through the lobby toward the restroom, when something ahead made him stop in his tracks. A shadowy figure appeared near the corner, standing there for just a second before pulling back out of sight. Stunned, he rushed forward to see who it was, checking the hallway and every nearby room, but he never found an explanation for what he saw. So what do you think it could have been? A ghost or something even more sinister? Students went missing. A school bus driver in Dallas, Texas, pulled over one afternoon and called 911, insisting something impossible had just happened. He told the dispatcher that all 45 students on his bus had vanished within seconds.
I know you didn't get in an accident, you just told me that.
Okay.
The kids are gone.
They're gone. I don't know where they went.
How many kids total?
45, 50.
Okay, do me a favor. Stand right there. Stand right there. Do it now, please.
Look at it.
Stand right there.
There's nothing wrong with
Do
the
not
bus.
move.
They just...
An officer arrived and boarded the bus himself, expecting some kind of prank. But it was empty. Only backpacks and jackets left scattered across the seats. The department is still investigating this sudden disappearance.
When?
I'm gonna take a look. Hello? Hello, police? Anyone on the bus? Hello? Is anyone on the bus? Hello?
Possessed man. One evening, police were called to a home in Louisville, Kentucky, after a family reported that a man inside was frightening everyone. When officers arrived, he was yelling, behaving erratically, and refusing to calm down. As their body camera recorded the scene, a metal tray suddenly slid off a shelf and crashed onto the floor.
Oh, we know! Ah!
Moments later, an officer standing outside reported seeing a dark figure race past a window at incredible speed. The family believed an evil presence was inside the house and feared the man had become possessed. Disturbed by ghost. A woman living in Dallas, Texas, had been feeling a strange presence in her home for 3 nights straight before finally calling 911. When the officer arrived, she looked shaken and upset as she described what had been happening. He searched every room but found nothing unusual. As he was about to leave, the woman suddenly screamed and ran toward him in a panic. That's when his bodycam caught it, a dark shadow moving right behind her before vanishing into the floor. The officer finally understood that what had been troubling her was a ghost. Wandering soul. A security guard was on his usual night shift at the mall when the kids' ride near the food court suddenly switched on by itself, music playing with no one around. Out of curiosity, he walked further down the hall and spotted a strange shadow lingering at the far end. As he kept watching it, a bone-chilling scream suddenly echoed through the empty corridor. He showed the footage to his supervisor the next day, who told him the mall had been built over an old graveyard and that a wandering soul might still be walking those halls at night. Levitating ghost. A man in Amarillo, Texas, was fast asleep when loud banging on his door woke him up around 3 in the morning. He got up to check, and what he saw outside was terrifying. Sitting on top of a parked truck was a figure with a completely black face and glowing eyes. After a while, it began to hover, hands shaking. He managed to film it for a few seconds before it faded into the dark. He didn't sleep the rest of that night, convinced something otherworldly had been lingering in the darkness outside. Invisible driver. On the 21st of August, 2024. Two officers on highway patrol in Texas spotted a car speeding well past the limit and pulled it over. They walked up expecting to see a driver ready to hand over a license, but the front seat was completely empty. Just seconds earlier, the car had been moving fast enough to catch their attention. The engine was still running, seatbelt hanging loose, yet nobody was inside. The officers stood there, unable to explain how it had been driving itself. One of them said it might have been a ghost behind the wheel.
This is some spooky shit right here. I'm gonna have to call this in the sheriff's department.
Soul returned. A security guard was on his night shift at a hospital in Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia, when he walked into the lobby and stopped in his tracks. Standing in the lobby was a hunched figure dressed like a nurse, but its body looked black, with no visible face.
Hey, what's up?
The moment he raised his flashlight toward it, the figure took off running down the hallway. He chased after it, but by the time he reached the corner, it was gone without a trace. When he told his supervisor, he claimed a nurse had passed away in that same hospital just a week earlier, and this might be her soul. Open discussion.
Hello, you
Yes, sir, that's me.
What's going on?
She is in the bathroom.
Okay. Are you comfortable with us going and talking to her?
Go do what you gotta do.
All right.
On the 3rd of February, 2023, police responded to an apartment in Des Moines, Iowa, after a man reported that his girlfriend had locked herself inside the bathroom for hours. He told officers she kept repeating the word please over and over in a strange voice and was acting unlike herself. When officers arrived, she calmly answered through the door and insisted she was fine.
Hey, Isabel, police department, can you come out?
140 Adams?
We just need to make sure you're okay.
I'm okay.
But after she stepped out, her behavior suddenly changed. She stared at the officers and moved uncomfortably close to one of them.
Hey, so what are you gonna do about it?
I'm here to make sure you're okay.
Okay.
We don't need to have
I'm
it back up.
Look it. Hey,
We don't need to have
I'm
it
okay.
back up.
Back
Look
up.
it. Look
Back
it.
up.
When they tried to calm her down, she became aggressive and had to be restrained. During the struggle, she shouted random things, then suddenly went silent before acting erratically again. She was eventually arrested after assaulting 2 officers.
This is on me. This is on me. Stop. This is on me. Stop. This is on me. Stop. This is on me. I'm going to jail in my underwear. This is what your mom told me to do. I want your mom.
All right.
Campfire stories. What if the Bigfoot warnings park rangers share are not campfire stories, but survival advice?
Warning, if you feel like you're being watched by the trees here in Woodlands National Park, you are. There are dangerous creatures here in these woods that look exactly like trees, but they are very dangerous and they are out to get you.
Listen to this ranger's warning about how these creatures do not just hide in the forest. They blend into it so well they can look like trees. He claimed that if you hear a deep growl, you should not stop to listen. The warning came with something even bigger. His team headed into the same woods to see what was really there. While scanning the trees, one ranger spotted a huge dark figure standing still in the distance.
Whoa.
At first it seemed like part of the forest, but the zoom revealed something was watching them. Then the figure slipped away between the trunks. If that was Bigfoot, it moved like it knew exactly where to hide. The rangers decided they needed answers, so they tried to capture it. For a moment, it looked like the plan worked. Then the creature broke free, charged at the team, and sent them racing back to their patrol truck. They barely escaped. When they stopped, the truck was shredded, with deep claw marks across the doors and body. The proof was indicating one thing, that it's not just folklore. Silent Watcher. What if the most terrifying thing you could meet while camping was not a wild animal, but the same strange man showing up again and again in the same forest? Over time, several campers have reported the same eerie figure in the forest, and one detail never changes. Something about him feels off. The first report came from a park ranger patrolling the woods at night with his dog. His flashlight caught a lone camper acting strange in the trees.
Bro, what is that? What the freak, bro?
His unnatural movements suggested as if something else were controlling him. The ranger panicked and ran with his dog. Then another camper arrived at the same remote campsite, unaware of the earlier sightings. While cooking alone near his tent during the evening, a strange man suddenly emerged from the woods and quietly asked for a light. The camper offered him a meal, which he accepted without a word before disappearing back into the darkness. The encounter left the camper deeply uneasy, forcing him to spend the night in his car instead.
And I've got a visitor. Creeped up behind me asking me if I had a light. I shit me pants.
By morning, the trail camera left behind was gone, making him believe the mysterious stranger had returned under the cover of darkness. The final encounter was the most terrifying. A woman camping alone was confronted by the same mysterious man, who claimed the forest belonged to him and demanded that she leave immediately. When she tried to pack up, he chased her through the campsite until she escaped. If 3 campers tell the same story, maybe the real question is not whether he is possessed, but why he keeps waiting in the woods. The hooded ones. Rangers discovered an abandoned VHS camera deep in the forest. When they played the tape, its final recording showed the hiker fleeing through thick fog as if something was closing in behind him. In the footage, a man was running from figures wearing hoods and stumbled upon something hitting the dirt. In the end, the silent, hooded figures stand motionless beneath the trees, surrounding the man. In the next clip, the man was tied up to a tree, and those hooded men were standing on his both sides, moving eerily as if they were performing some ritual. Seconds later, the clip cut off, leaving all the rangers in shock and confusion. Trail cam encounters. Over the years, several unexplained encounters have suggested that whatever is hiding in these woods doesn't always hide from the cameras. The first incident came from a trail camera overlooking a construction site, where a man operating a backhoe never realized a massive dark figure, estimated to be nearly 9 feet tall, was standing motionless among the trees, quietly watching him from a distance before disappearing without a trace. That wasn't the only strange recording. While reviewing another trail camera deep in the forests of Ontario, a park ranger discovered a huge, dark, hairy figure partially concealed behind the trees. It blended so perfectly with the surrounding forest that it was almost impossible to tell where the creature ended and the landscape began. Before the footage revealed anything more, the recording simply came to an end. Not long after, another trail camera near Birch Bay, Washington captured a towering silhouette moving slowly across the forest at night. It crossed between the trees with heavy, deliberate steps before fading into the darkness beyond the tree line. The final encounter was the only one witnessed in real time. While patrolling during daylight, a park ranger noticed movement between the trees and began recording. A tall, dark figure with unusually long, ape-like arms emerged briefly into the sunlight before slipping back into the shadows and disappearing into the forest. Whether it was one creature or several, every encounter ended the same way. It appeared without warning, stayed just long enough to be seen, and disappeared before anyone could get close enough to identify it. 4:30 a.m. visitor. A park ranger found herself in an unsettling situation during routine night patrol. Someone knocked on her van door at 4:30 a.m., and as the night unfolded, every sound outside the van became more unsettling than the last. She was asleep when the sound of footsteps crunching through the snow suddenly woke her. Seconds later, someone knocked on the door. She asked the person outside to identify themselves.
I hear footprints. Hello? How can I help you?
Looking through the window, she spotted a pair of headlights in the distance. Moments later, the vehicle backed away and disappeared. Most people would have thought the danger was over. It wasn't. About 10 minutes later, the footsteps returned, circling the van once again. Whoever had been outside was still somewhere in the darkness. When morning finally came, the ranger stepped outside and discovered a separate set of deep boot prints surrounding her campsite that clearly weren't her own.
Get this one. This is mine. I'll show you. There's mine. See?
She never learned who had visited her that night. The footprints were the only proof that someone had been just outside her door while she slept. Standing in red. Some mountain roads become completely deserted after dark, and there may be good reasons why. Two park rangers found themselves wondering the same thing during a routine night patrol when they came across something neither of them could explain. Their dashcam was recording as they drove through a remote, heavily wooded mountain region along a remote mountain road late at night. The road ahead was empty until their headlights suddenly illuminated a tall figure standing perfectly still in the middle of the pavement. The figure appeared to be wearing a bright red dress or robe, yet it remained completely motionless as the patrol vehicle approached. It simply stood there in complete silence in the middle of the road, in a place so isolated that no one should have been walking alone at that hour. The encounter left the rangers deeply unsettled. Was it a lost traveler, someone deliberately waiting in the road, or something far more mysterious? Whatever they saw that night, the image of the motionless figure in red remained with them long after they had left the mountain behind. Don't look back. What would you do if you looked back while running through the woods and realized something had been chasing you all along? That's the terrifying experience one young boy lived through during a nighttime escape that lasted only a few terrifying seconds but stayed with him forever. The boy sprinted through the dark forest in complete panic, desperately trying to outrun something hidden among the trees behind him. Branches snapped beneath his feet as he raced toward a nearby vehicle where his friend was waiting. Then, in the middle of his escape, he tripped over a fallen branch and crashed to the ground. As he looked back, he caught sight of a pale humanoid figure standing silently between the trees, motionless and watching him from the darkness.
No. Hurry up, come on!
Hearing his friend's panicked cries, the boy scrambled back to his feet and rushed into the waiting vehicle. He escaped unharmed, but the brief glimpse of the pale figure was enough to convince him that something had been following him through the woods that night.
No. Hurry up, come on!
Silence on trail. The forest often notices something unusual before people do. One quiet gravel trail captured exactly that when several deer and a fox suddenly froze, all focused on the same spot. In the distance, a large, dark figure stood on the trail before slowly walking along it. None of the animals fled. Instead, the deer remained completely still, turning their heads to follow its every step. For several long seconds, it stood motionless, staring down the trail toward the camera and the waiting animals. Without making another move, it turned around and walked away. As it retreated into the distance, its broad back, unusually long arms, and dark fur-like appearance became even more noticeable, leaving behind a silent encounter that no one present could explain. 4 forests, 1 fear. Some encounters are too similar to dismiss as coincidence. Across different forests and different countries, witnesses captured creatures that defied explanation. One explorer searching for shelter in the forests of Transylvania entered an abandoned house and came face to face with a gray-skinned humanoid with glowing eyes and sharp horns before fleeing in terror. Later, a driver near Angel Falls noticed unusual movement beside a forest road and stopped to investigate. When he called out, a distorted voice answered from the trees. Moments later, a strange figure lowered itself toward the ground and advanced toward him, twisting its body in unnatural, contorted ways.
How you doing? Oh, what's up, dude?
Terrified, the driver ran back to his vehicle and sped away. In Malaysia's mossy forest, a camper searching for a lost rooster instead found a pale creature with a swollen face creeping towards him on all fours. As he slowly backed away, he kept filming and quietly recited Arabic prayers for protection.
Allah, 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 Allah.
During another rain-soaked night, a lone camper lay frozen inside his tent as horrifying screams echoed through the forest. Gathering the courage to look outside, he unzipped the tent and found a tall figure wrapped in a white burial shroud, standing silently among the bushes. Panicked, he immediately pulled back inside and zipped the tent shut. None of them stayed long enough to learn what they had seen, but every one of them left believing something unnatural still lives in those forests. Laughing in the dark. One influencer experienced exactly that while spending the night high up in a tree deep inside the forest. As he recorded the darkness around him, strange sounds began echoing below, a disturbing mix of a woman crying and laughing. Alarmed, he shined a light toward the base of the tree and discovered a woman in light-colored clothing wandering beneath him. Confused, he called down, asking who she was and what she was doing alone in the jungle at night. She never acknowledged him. Instead, she continued pacing in circles around the tree, laughing hysterically and muttering as she circled below. Unable to understand her behavior, the influencer remained high above, filming every unsettling moment as the mysterious woman continued circling the tree, turning an ordinary night in the jungle into one he would never forget. Walking past her. Dark roads often become the setting for encounters that defy explanation. Two boys were walking home late at night when they noticed a mysterious woman standing beside a narrow village path. Her unexpected presence brought them to an immediate stop. Too frightened to walk past, they pleaded that they belonged to the same village and begged her to let them pass safely. Rather than threatening them,
Please, यहाँ पर हम दोनों भाई खतरे में हैं. मैंने अमित भैया को उधर छुपा के रख रखा है.
the woman calmly instructed them which path to take and told them to simply walk past her. Still terrified, the boys obeyed, slowly making their way forward while keeping a cautious distance. Keeping the camera focused on the dark trail ahead, they carefully walked past the woman, capturing an encounter that transformed an ordinary walk home into a moment they would never forget. Legendary photograph.
Is a strange alien-looking creature prowling in northern New Mexico? A Facebook picture circulating yesterday sure has a lot of people up there worried.
Can one photograph make a desert road feel cursed? That's exactly what people began asking after a strange image surfaced from a lonely stretch of highway near Leabrook and Counselor, New Mexico. That's when the story behind the photograph began to spread. According to the viral Facebook claim, the image was captured by an oilfield geologist who noticed a strange heat signature near the roadside. When he aimed his thermal camera towards it, he captured what appeared to be a pale, humanoid figure crouched on all fours in the darkness. The encounter reportedly terrified him so badly that he quit his job the very next day and never returned to that area. As the image spread, users linked it to the Skinwalker legend, a shape-shifting being from Native American folklore. Some even claimed that posts and comments discussing the sighting began disappearing, adding another layer of mystery to an already unsettling story.
And adding to the mystery and fear of this creature, many people who posted and shared the picture yesterday found their posts and comments suddenly disappear. People who emailed it to others, unable to retrieve it.
So was it a real encounter, a hoax, or simply a strange image people wanted to believe? Either way, the photo left one question behind. What did he really capture out there? Caught on the hillside. What if the next thing you spotted in the woods wasn't a bear or another hiker, but something no one could identify? That's the question a group of park rangers faced while patrolling a remote forest when they noticed movement on a steep hillside. At first, the figure blended perfectly with the landscape, making it difficult to see. But as the camera zoomed in, a tall, dark shape appeared walking upright between the trees with slow, deliberate movements. The rangers were shocked and tried to understand what they saw. It never ran, never looked back, and simply disappeared into the dense forest. So, what do you think they saw? A person, an unknown creature, or just a trick of the trees? Ape Canyon. What would you do if the forest seemed to strike back after you wounded something hidden inside it? That question has haunted the Ape Canyon incident for decades, turning it into one of the strangest wilderness stories ever told. In July 1924, 5 miners led by prospector Fred Beck were working a remote claim on Mount St. Helens. They found huge human-like tracks, and one man claimed a hairy figure watched from a ridge. On July 10th, they saw a tall shape in the trees, and one miner took aim at that figure. It fell into the ravine. That single moment seemed to change everything. After dark, heavy thuds shook the cabin, rocks slammed into the walls, and dark shadows moved beyond the firelight. The miners heard guttural screams followed by pounding against the logs. At one point, a hairy arm reportedly reached through a crack in the door. Terrified, the men grabbed their weapons and tried to retaliate. By morning, the fight had stopped, but the ground outside was covered with stones that hadn't been there before. The miners abandoned their mission, hiked out of the canyon, and reported the ordeal. They never changed their story, insisting they had faced creatures, not bears, and claimed that the creatures were only protecting their territory. The Screaming Woods. As night settled over the remote forest, the silence was suddenly shattered by what sounded like a woman screaming somewhere deep in the woods. Believing someone might be in danger, the ranger grabbed his flashlight and stepped outside to search the tree line. But the longer he scanned the darkness, the stronger the feeling grew that someone was hiding just beyond the reach of his light. Unable to find the source of the cries, he reluctantly returned to his van. Moments later, a loud bang echoed through the forest. Before he could make sense of it, a violent knock slammed against the side of the van. Then the motion alarm beneath the vehicle suddenly activated, warning that someone was trying to crawl underneath. The unexpected alarm startled the unseen intruder, who disappeared into the darkness before the ranger could see who or what had been outside the van. Man in Mask. Something bizarre happened to Craig during a solo camping trip near Spruce Pond, and an ordinary night in the woods slowly turned into one of the most terrifying experiences of his life. After spending the day setting up his campsite, Craig settled in as darkness fell over the forest. Before long, strange noises began echoing through the trees.
Someone there?
At first, he dismissed them as ordinary sounds of the wilderness, but with each passing minute, the noises grew louder and seemed to move closer to his campsite.
Okay. That's not...
Uneasy, Craig repeatedly called into the darkness, but no one answered. The only response was the unsettling movement coming from the surrounding brush. Realizing something wasn't right, Craig turned his camera toward the bushes to find the source of the noise. That's when he spotted a man hiding in the undergrowth, wearing a disturbing clown mask. The horrifying sight sent him into an immediate panic. Leaving his campsite behind, Craig fled through the woods on foot and escaped unharmed. He never discovered who the masked stranger was or why he had been hiding there, leaving one terrifying question unanswered. Was Craig being watched from the moment he arrived? The Appalachian Echo. Some calls are unsettling not because of what officers find, but because of what they never do. One late night, a park ranger responded to reports of strange noises echoing through a remote section of the Appalachian Mountains. What began as a routine check quickly became an encounter he couldn't explain. The ranger pulled his patrol vehicle to the side of the dark forest road and scanned the tree line from inside. Apart from the flashing emergency lights reflecting off the trees, everything around him was hidden in complete darkness. Then it came. A deafening roar echoed through the woods, unlike any animal the ranger had ever heard.
Starting to regret that I stopped at this rest.
It shifted between a deep howl and a harsh metallic wail, carrying through the forest from somewhere beyond the reach of the headlights. The sound continued, but nothing ever stepped into view. No movement, no eyes, no source. The ranger eventually left without finding what had made the noise. But the recording remained as proof that something was waiting in those woods, hidden just beyond the light.
You say Bigfoot isn't real?
An unclaimed tape. What would you do if you found an abandoned camera in the woods with footage no one could explain? One such video was reportedly discovered in 1997 by a local game hunter less than 2 miles from the site of mysterious sightings. First reported in Emerson County back in 1957. The camera had no owner, only the footage left behind. The recording begins with a man and woman quietly walking through a dense forest. Before long, the man notices movement between the trees and points into the darkness. Moments later, they both spot a shadowy figure lurking deeper in the woods. The woman immediately realizes something is wrong, insisting it wasn't an animal.
Do you see that? Over there, look, over there. Do you see that?
What the hell?
Then, without warning, the figure suddenly rushes toward them. Panic takes over as the couple turned around and ran. The camera shook violently while their screams echoed through the forest.
I don't like it.
Okay, fuck. Go.
Seconds later, the camera crashed to the ground and the footage dissolved into static. No one ever came forward to claim the camera, leaving its final recording as the only evidence of whatever they encountered in those woods. Impossible disappearance. Some encounters stay terrifying because they seem to defy every rule of reality. This person, while walking through a quiet pine forest on a hazy afternoon, was recording the peaceful surroundings. Within seconds, the calm atmosphere turned into something far more unsettling. As the camera slowly panned between the towering trees, a tall, completely black humanoid figure could be seen peeking out from behind a slender tree trunk in the distance. At first, it looked like someone silently watching from the forest. But as the filmer kept the camera fixed on it, the figure suddenly slipped back behind the narrow trunk. The tree was far too thin to conceal something that large, yet the dark silhouette simply disappeared from view as though it had never been there. The filmer remained focused on the spot where the figure had vanished, unable to understand what had just happened. Before anything else could be seen, the recording abruptly ended the moment the mysterious figure disappeared behind the tree. Eyes on slide. A man was exploring a quiet playground at night in England while testing the infrared mode on his new camera.
Leave a camera here. Oh, wicked, it's got infrared.
As he slowly scanned the empty playground, everything looked perfectly normal until the camera settled on the top of a slide. There was a strange bipedal creature staring right in the camera, and in the glow of the infrared light, its eyes reflected brightly. Without warning, it leaped from the top of the slide and disappeared into the darkness beyond the playground.
Oh, it was well creepy. What the f*** was that?
The man froze. Moments later, the swings behind him suddenly began rattling violently on their own. Before he could react, the recording abruptly cut to black.
Guys. Stuart. Don't serious, man. I've just f***ing seen something on the f***ing top.
The lost recording. Some of the creepiest discoveries in the wilderness happen when an ordinary walk through the forest suddenly turns into something impossible. That's exactly what happened to this guy while recording a quiet forest clearing surrounded by dense pine trees. The recording began with someone slowly walking through a peaceful forest clearing scattered with fallen logs and broken branches. Nothing seemed unusual at first. Then the camera turned toward a dense patch of pine trees near the edge of the woods. As it zoomed in, a large, dark humanoid figure could be seen standing among the pine branches, almost perfectly concealed by the surrounding foliage. Startled, the person filming gasped and struggled to keep the camera steady, briefly losing focus before finding the figure again. It remained partially hidden among the trees until the footage suddenly ended. The ranger never found the camera's owner. All that remained was a recording that suggested someone wasn't alone in those woods, even if they never realized it until it was too late. Face in the tree. One quiet walk through the forest made one owner realize that animals sometimes notice things people don't. While walking along a wooded trail, the dog suddenly stopped and locked its eyes on a large hollow tree near its base. At first, it seemed as though it had spotted a squirrel or another small animal. Then, heavy, rhythmic knocking echoed from inside the trunk. The dog cautiously stepped backward but refused to look away. Curious, they kept filming. Moments later, something shifted inside the dark opening. Slowly, a figure wearing a gray hood and mask poked its head out through the hollow, staring toward the dog and the camera. The dog remained completely focused on the tree. Unwilling to look away, as the unsettling figure continued peering out from the trunk. The walk ended there. Whatever was hiding inside that tree never came out, but it was enough to prove the dog's warning had come far too late. 3 sightings, 1 mystery. What if the UFO sightings people report today are only part of a much older mystery? Reports of strange objects in the sky stretch back more than a century, and one of the earliest came from a British military pilot in 1916. While flying near Rochford, Essex, he spotted a glowing row of lights that reminded him of the illuminated windows of a train carriage.
To go for a drive in the middle of the night, end up in Wolf Creek Pass. And I noticed this light up on the ridge. It started to move along this ridge line. Did this for like 15 minutes. It was pretty slow.
Moments later, the unidentified object rose into the night sky before vanishing. More than 100 years later, another unexplained sighting unfolded. A father was outside at dusk, while his young son played in the driveway when he noticed a disc-shaped object streaking across the sky above the tree line.
Hi, buddy, ready to go in? I think it's gonna rain soon. What's that?
Moments later, another large, glowing circular object appeared, hovering high above the trees beneath the dark clouds.
When a British pilot near Rochford, Essex, reported seeing a row of lights, resembling the lighted windows on a train carriage.
Then came an even stranger encounter at Wolf Creek Pass. A man watched a glowing light move slowly along a ridgeline for nearly 15 minutes before it suddenly zipped back to where it had first appeared and faded away.
That rose up into the sky and disappeared.
Moments later, it seemed to power back up, allowing him to capture a photograph of the glowing green disc-shaped object.
That's when I got the one picture.
Oh, okay.
I got it when it was powering back up, when you could see the shape of it.
What is going on?
Doorbell cameras are there to keep us safe, but what I'm about to show you today only made the owners scream in fear. Make sure you stick around until the end.
Please help me! Please!
Because the final clip will make you double-check your locks tonight.
A Kent PD spokesperson told local reporters they are not ruling out whether the suspect could be linked to similar home invasions targeting Asian families that started last summer.
This one out of Kent, Washington, is properly heart-stopping. A woman was heading home from a casino with her husband when an armed, masked intruder started chasing her across the property. She didn't hang about, she sprinted for the door, slammed it shut, and locked it just as he reached her, leaving him stuck outside. Furious at being locked out, the suspect turned his weapon on the Ring camera itself and struck it repeatedly, venting his rage on the one thing that had caught him in the act. After a few tense seconds, he finally gave up and fled into the night. Absolutely terrifying watching how close he actually got before that door saved her. Armed standoff. 3 intruders broke into a home armed with weapons and electrical cables, clearly not planning on a peaceful visit. As one of them lunged toward the homeowner, a woman inside pulled a weapon and didn't hesitate. She targeted at the intruders, sending all 3 scattering in a blind panic. They fled out through a window, leaving whatever they'd come for behind. A proper reminder of how quickly a home invasion can turn, and how one person's quick reaction completely flipped the situation on its head. The footage shows just how fast it all unfolded, seconds separating a break-in from a full-blown fight inside someone's own living room. Creepy threats.
Just ring your doorbell, because I have a couple questions for you. Are you sure? Are you positive?
A strange man turned up and started knocking repeatedly, asking the woman inside over and over if she was sure about something, insisting he had questions for her. Home alone and properly rattled, she called both her husband and 911 straight away. Her husband, working fast, accessed the camera remotely and confronted the man directly through the speaker. Realizing he'd been caught out and police might turn up any minute, the man actually threatened to force his way inside before finally backing off and leaving. A close call that only ended well because she didn't hesitate to call for help.
Are you positive? I just have a couple questions for you. Are you sure? Are you positive? Are you sure?
Wig thieves. This one's properly heartbreaking when you find out what was actually taken. Under cover of night, 2 men kicked open the front door of a hair salon in Heswall, caught clean on the Ring camera as they broke in. What they stole wasn't jewelry or cash, it was over 50 specialized wigs, ones intended specifically for cancer patients going through treatment. The salon owner discovered the break-in shortly after and was absolutely devastated, knowing exactly who those wigs were meant to help. Local police launched an active investigation straight away, chasing down any leads they could find. Out of everything on this list, this one's got to be one of the most gutting, stealing from people who needed it most. Christine's stand.
Bizarre attempted break-in at a home in the Tower District. It happened shortly after midnight last Friday night, and tonight we now know the name of the suspect. We also talked with the homeowner who armed herself during the bizarre incident. The homeowner, Christine Pauls, says that at first her Friday night started out just like any other night.
A stranger turned up at Christine Paul's home searching for her daughter, though nobody there had any idea who she meant. What followed was a genuinely frightening break-in attempt. The intruder slammed repeatedly into the front door before smashing a window and reaching an arm straight through it, trying to get inside. Christine didn't wait around to find out what happened next. She grabbed a weapon and held her ground until police finally arrived on scene.
Hi. Hi.
Do you live here?
No, I don't.
So why are you banging on the door?
Because my friend was there.
The suspect was later identified, and here's the properly unsettling part. She turned out to be a local first-grade teacher, someone entrusted with children every single day. Absolutely nobody saw that coming.
The intruder was cited for a misdemeanor vandalism charge, but authorities say they are considering charging her with attempted burglary and being under the influence of alcohol or drugs.
Let me in. During a nighttime rainstorm, a barefoot girl in a soaked dress approached a porch, moving slowly through the downpour like she'd walked from somewhere far off. She stared directly into the camera for a long, uncomfortable stretch before whispering 3 words that'll stay with you: "Let me in."
Gonna let me in.
Then, without warning, she leaned in uncomfortably close to the lens, closing the distance in a way that felt anything but natural. The homeowner never opened the door. Nobody ever worked out who she was, where she'd come from, or why she was out barefoot in a storm at that hour. Hallway stranger. Right, imagine finding out a stranger had been treating your hallway like his own personal waiting room. That's exactly what happened to one woman in her apartment building. Night after night, for nearly a month, this bloke turned up and just lingered. He'd stand perfectly still with his front to the camera, clearly clocking exactly where the lens was. And at one point, he actually tried the door handle. Cool as you like. She posted the footage in a proper panic, and thank God it worked. Police tracked him down and arrested him not long after. Absolutely mental he got away with it that long. followed home. This next one comes out of Karachi's FB area, and it's the kind of thing that'll make any parent's stomach drop. A young girl was walking home after her studies, minding her own business, when she noticed a man had followed her the entire way. She got to her door and found it locked, proper nightmare scenario. So she did the only thing she could think of and started screaming for her mum, hoping someone inside would hear and let her in. The bloke, spooked by the noise, legged it. She finally got the door open and rushed in, absolutely shaking. A close call, but she did everything right by making noise instead of staying silent. Porch sitter.
Good morning.
A woman stepped out onto a porch to let her dog out, and as she watched the dog wander off, something made her glance to the side. There he was, a man just sitting there on her porch, like he'd been invited round for tea. She screamed her husband's name and bolted back inside. Heart absolutely hammering. The stranger, seeing the commotion he'd caused, got up without a word and walked off the property. No explanation, no reaction, nothing. Just left like it was completely normal to be sat on someone's porch uninvited. Makes you wonder how long he'd actually been there before she spotted him. 4 a.m. visitor. This next clip is proper eerie, and it's one of those where the homeowner had no clue anything happened until she checked her footage the next morning. At 4 a.m., while she was fast asleep, her Ring camera picked up a woman approaching the front door and peering straight through the glass. Her movements were off, jerky, unnatural, like something wasn't quite right with her. She lingered a moment, then left just as quietly as she'd arrived. The homeowner only found out when she scrolled back through the alerts the next day, and honestly, some viewers reckoned the woman looked possessed. Whatever it was, she never came back, and the homeowner's been checking that lock twice a night ever since. Fake help. Here's a proper reminder that not everyone at your door has good intentions. Around 2 a.m. one February morning, a woman rang a homeowner's bell claiming she and a bloke with her needed help. Sounds innocent enough, right? Except the homeowner clocked something off straight away and locked the door before opening it. Good thing he did, because the moment he refused, the man she'd arrived with stepped forward brandishing a weapon. Realizing the plan had gone completely sideways, the pair legged it into the night. What looked like a simple cry for help turned out to be an attempted first-degree burglary caught in full on the doorbell cam. Trust your gut. That's the lesson here. Oregon abduction. This one's genuinely terrifying because it wasn't some stranger lurking about, it was someone the victim actually knew. Security footage out of Oregon captured a woman being carried away against her will, completely unable to fight back.
Please help me! Please help me!
Police launched an investigation immediately, and it later came out the suspect had a prior connection to her, meaning this wasn't some random attack at all. Thankfully, and I mean thankfully, she was found safe not long after, and the suspect was formally charged with kidnapping. Doesn't make the footage any less chilling to watch, knowing someone she trusted was capable of that. A proper reminder that danger doesn't always come from a stranger.
Please help me! Please help me!
Failed lock. Sometimes the creepiest bit is how little actually happens. A man crept up to a front door late at night and tried his luck with the lock, fiddling about for a good few seconds. It just wasn't budging. After a bit of struggling, he gave up and walked off into the dark without so much as a backward glance. No explanation, no clue who he was. Just a bloke who fancied his chances and got nothing for it. Bible salesman. This one starts normally and goes properly downhill fast. A man rang the bell asking if the homeowner fancied buying a Bible off him. He said, "No thanks." Simple as that.
What's up?
Nothing. I'm here for to ask if you'd like to buy some Bibles.
Oh, no thanks. Please leave.
But instead of walking away like a normal person, he started muttering rude comments under his breath, pretended to leave.
This property owner is armed. That's a pellet gun on the picture, fool.
Then turned right back around. He crouched down, stared at the carpet, and moments later started aggressively hammering the bell, demanding he open up.
Open the doors.
Absolutely unhinged behavior over a book nobody wanted. He kept the door shut, which honestly was the right call. Gate climber. Right, this one's more bizarre than frightening, but it'll still make your skin crawl a bit. A barefoot woman turned up on someone's front porch, acting completely erratically outside a locked security screen. She laughed hysterically, pulled grimaces straight at the camera, and threw her arms about like she was performing for it. Then, without warning, she climbed straight up and over the gate. No one ever worked out what she was doing there or what set her off. Neighborhood scarer. Multiple people in this neighborhood had been reporting a masked man skulking about, and everyone thought they were just seeing things until one Ring camera finally caught him in the act. Turns out he had a very deliberate reason for being there. He was going round making horrific noises just to spook people out of their wits. Classic case of someone getting far too much enjoyment out of terrifying their neighbors. Once the footage went round, it confirmed what everyone had been whispering about for weeks. At least the mystery got solved, even if it was for a daft reason. Dresden Files breakdown.
Hi there, can you open this door, please?
For what?
I just want to make sure that everything's okay. There seems to be something going on.
What do you mean?
I don't know, I just figured I'd check on something.
I don't know what you want, man. Get out of my house.
This one's a proper wild ride. A man turned up at a stranger's home mid-mental breakdown, convinced he was Harry Dresden, yeah, the wizard from those novels. He started threatening the homeowner straight through the Ring camera speaker, working himself up more and more.
Open the door. This is my neighborhood. Open the door.
Before actually breaking into the house, the homeowner, quick thinking under pressure, grabbed the nearest thing available, a snow shovel, and managed to fend him off until police arrived. He was arrested shortly after, still apparently convinced of his fictional identity. Proper reminder that you genuinely never know what's going to show up at your door, and sometimes it's someone who's lost the plot entirely. Narrow miss. This clip is only a few seconds long, but it'll have your heart in your throat. A girl carrying bags hurried into her home and shut the door behind her without a second thought. Seconds later, a hooded figure who'd clearly been following close behind reached the same door, missing getting inside with her by the narrowest of margins. She had absolutely no idea how close that call actually was until she checked the footage after. Fake delivery. This bloke thought he'd cracked the perfect disguise. Dressed head to toe as a delivery driver, safety vest and all, he approached a front door holding an envelope, playing the part completely. But the homeowner wasn't buying it for a second. The moment the door opened, she shoved him clean off the porch, sending him running for it. A proper thwarted break-in and a lesson in trusting instincts over uniforms.
I don't think this is for you.
Unbelievable steak. This one's the kind that sticks with you long after watching. A mother and her child rushed into their house, locking the door behind them just in time. Seconds later, a man appeared out of nowhere, walked straight up, and tried the handle. When it wouldn't budge, he didn't leave. He just stood there, staring directly into the camera without blinking once. Completely still. No words, no reaction, just that cold, fixed stare aimed right at the lens like he knew exactly who was watching. Police were called straight away, but he'd vanished before they arrived and was never identified. Absolutely bone-chilling to think he's still out there somewhere. Broken door. A masked figure in a white hoodie and black face covering strolled onto a porch late one night like he owned the place. He turned toward the red front door, squared up, and gave it an almighty kick. The moment his foot connected, something seemed to spook him because he spun round instantly and bolted off the porch back into the darkness. No explanation for the sudden change of heart, just gone. Hidden wife. This one is a proper story, so stick with me. A woman turned up at a man's door in an absolute state, banging and pleading that a stranger was following her. He let her in to hide, no questions asked.
Hello?
Hello. I'm sorry to bother you, but there is a creepy guy who's been following me for the last 10 minutes.
Yeah?
Can I stay at your place until he's gone?
Yeah, come in.
Thank you.
Not long after, another man appeared at the same door, calm as anything, asking if he'd seen his wife wandering about. The homeowner, clocking the situation immediately, lied straight to his face to protect the woman inside.
Yeah?
Hello.
What is it?
I was out for a walk with my wife and
Yeah?
we had a little argument and I lost sight of her.
Yeah, and?
Have you seen a young woman by any chance?
No, I'm sorry.
25 years?
No.
Are you sure?
Yeah, I'm sure. Bye.
The stranger didn't buy it entirely, though he lingered right outside the glass window for what felt like an eternity, just watching. Eventually he left, but the story doesn't end there. Later, the frightened woman came out of hiding and offered the homeowner a drink as thanks. He took a sip and within moments felt dizzy, then collapsed straight to the floor. Whether she'd been in on it the whole time, nobody's entirely sure. But it turned what looked like an act of kindness into something far more sinister. Graydon's Rocks. This one properly gets the blood boiling. A 10-year-old boy named Graydon was walking home when two men in a car started following him, trying to lure him inside with the promise of sweets. Smart lad that he was, he didn't take the bait. He found his front door locked, so instead of panicking, he grabbed a handful of rocks to defend himself and sprinted for a neighbor's house instead. The men didn't drive off straight away either. They lingered in the neighbor's driveway for several long minutes before finally backing off. Absolutely chilling how calculated the whole thing was, and proper credit to Graydon for keeping his head and getting himself to safety. Zip tie man. A woman was outside with her dog when something made her rush back inside and shut the door behind her fast. Moments later, her Ring camera caught exactly why a man approaching, wearing gloves and carrying zip ties, trying his luck at the door handle. She later said his whole getup gave her an instant bad feeling, and clearly her instincts were spot on. When a neighbor happened to step outside, the man quickly pretended to be doing yard work, playing it off like he belonged there. By the time police showed up, he'd already slipped away. The gloves and zip ties left little doubt about what he'd actually been planning. Self-knocked zombie. Now this one's a bit of comic relief amongst all the chaos. A man absolutely covered in dirt showed up and started slamming himself against the front door, over and over, for reasons nobody could quite work out. On his third attempt, he hit it with such force that he actually knocked himself clean out. The homeowner, reviewing the footage after, reckoned he genuinely looked like he was doing his best zombie impression. Whether it was a prank gone wrong or something stranger, the bloke ended up flat on the porch, victim of his own dramatics. Candyman. In Stockton, California, a man posed as a door-to-door candy seller, using the harmless disguise to distract a homeowner just long enough. The moment she opened the door, 3 accomplices who'd been waiting out of sight ambushed her and forced their way straight inside. It's a tactic that relies entirely on catching people off guard. Nobody expects a threat from someone selling sweets on their doorstep. And it wasn't an isolated case either.
He was very fidgety. He kept looking over his shoulder. He was kind of like, rocking left and right like he was anxious or nervous about something.
A similar invasion was reported out in Oklahoma, this time with suspects disguised as maintenance workers, using the same trick of a harmless cover story to get their foot in the door. If there's one takeaway from both of these, it's this: never open your door fully to a stranger, no matter how innocent the reason sounds. Verify through a window or camera first, every single time. Looking for Fifi.
Steven here.
Okay, what, are you looking for a Steven?
No, I am Steven. I'm looking for, Fifi.
This one starts off odd and gets properly uncomfortable fast. A man rang the doorbell, and when the homeowner asked through the speaker who it was, he claimed he was looking for someone called Fifi. She told him straight there was no Fifi at this address. Instead of leaving, he started firing off intimate, vulgar questions at her through the camera. It wasn't until she mentioned her armed husband was inside that he suddenly changed his tune, said his goodbyes, and cleared off. Absolutely bizarre how quickly his confidence evaporated the second consequences came into the picture.
I'm looking for, Fifi.
Yeah, you got the wrong house.
So, you don't want to have tonight?
Sir, my husband's in the living room with the gun.
Huh. Okay.
Have a good
Understood.
HOA excuses.
We're not home.
Where are you guys?
We're on vacation.
Okay, that's not a problem. I just need to run inside and check on a few things. I'm getting notifications of a leaky pipe and whatnot. Just want to make sure everything's okay inside.
An HOA board member tried entering a homeowner's house using a keypad lock while the owners were away on holiday. When they spoke to him through the video doorbell and told him they weren't home, he didn't back down. He claimed he needed to check a leaky pipe. Then he started complaining his universal HOA passcode wasn't working, straight up asking if they'd changed it without permission. He doubled down further, insisting every board member gets a universal code and that changing it was practically a violation.
This passcode is not working for me. Did you change it?
Mm-mm.
You didn't change the passcode? Every board member of the HOA gets a universal passcode. For some reason, this isn't working. You know, it's a violation to change your passcode on your house, right?
When the homeowner told him to leave and mentioned police were on the way, he suddenly went from confident to completely flustered, backing off in a hurry. Absolute nerve on this bloke, trying to talk his way into someone's empty house.
I'm gonna give you one chance to give me the code, all right?
The police are on their way.
I don't think that's necessary.
Holiday hoodies. Two hooded raiders broke into a home in Huntingdon while the occupants were away enjoying their holiday, thinking the place was theirs for the taking. They crept up the stairs carefully, hoodies pulled tight around their faces to avoid identification, moving slowly and deliberate through the empty house. But their plans didn't quite go as smoothly as hoped. The property's alarm went off around 1 a.m., sending them fleeing empty-handed. The residents got a text notification about the break-in and immediately checked their CCTV remotely, watching the whole thing unfold from miles away. Cambridgeshire police released the footage afterward, hoping someone would recognize the pair before they tried their luck somewhere else. Attic squatter. A woman started noticing unsettling activity coming from the attic hatch in her ceiling, the kind of noise that makes your mind race straight to the worst possibilities. She genuinely didn't know whether she was dealing with a squatter secretly living above her or something far more supernatural haunting the place. Rattled, she called her building manager to come take a look and get to the bottom of it once and for all. Turned out the truth was almost as unsettling as the alternatives. A man had actually been living up there in her attic the whole time, completely undetected. Makes you wonder how long he'd been up there before she even noticed the noise. Ceiling claws. A woman home alone kept getting Ring camera alerts, but every time she checked, there was no one at the door. Confused and a bit unnerved, she eventually glanced upward and spotted something that made her stomach drop. Claws breaking straight through the porch ceiling above her head. Turns out the explanation, while still a bit unsettling, was far less sinister than it first appeared. A mother raccoon and her 6 cubs had made themselves a home right up there, scratching about just above where she'd been standing the whole time. Quick save. This one's got a proper happy ending, so brace yourselves for something different. A man walking outside noticed a car speeding toward his open gate, far too fast, with a young child standing right near it. Without a second's hesitation, he sprinted forward, scooped the child up, and pulled them clear just in the nick of time. Pure reflexes and quick thinking, and a reminder that not every clip on this list ends in horror. Broken frame. An individual dressed entirely in black stood in front of an apartment door, still for a moment before launching into it with repeated, forceful kicks. He didn't stop until the door came clean off its frame, splintering apart under the pressure, before he stepped through into the dark residence beyond. Nobody ever found out exactly why he wanted it that badly, or what was waiting for him once he got there. Some say it was targeted, others reckon he had the wrong flat entirely. Either way, whoever lived there came home to a door that simply wasn't there anymore. Eye against lens. This one's more baffling than it is frightening, though it'll still put you right off answering your door for a while. A woman walked up a set of porch steps and, instead of ringing the bell like a normal person, leaned in extremely close to the camera, then closer still. Eventually, she pressed her actual eyeball directly against the lens, holding it there for a long, uncomfortable moment. She repeated this bizarre behavior a few times, never once explaining what she was doing or what she was hoping to see. The homeowner was left completely baffled by the footage, with no context and no idea who she was. One of the stranger entries on this list, purely for how deliberate it all seemed. Hi, Dad. At 1:15 in the morning, an unidentified woman turned up at a complete stranger's front door. Staring straight into the Ring camera, without any hesitation, she said 2 words, "Hi, Dad."
Hi, Dad.
Utterly convinced this was her father's house, the residents inside, understandably, had absolutely no idea what was going on or who this woman even was. She lingered a moment, clearly expecting a response, before the confusion set in properly on both sides. Whether it was a case of mistaken address, a mix-up with a similar-looking house, or something else entirely, nobody ever got a clear answer. Just a woman looking for her dad, in entirely the wrong place. Creepy followers. Doorbell footage caught a woman rushing into her home and locking the door fast behind her, clearly spooked by something. Her instincts were spot on seconds later. 2 men appeared on her porch, following the exact path she'd just taken. They stood there for a while, looking around, seemingly unsure of themselves, before eventually turning and walking away without ever attempting to get inside. The clip sparked a proper debate once it went online, with people split down the middle on whether this was a targeted attempt gone wrong, or simply a case of mistaken identity with 2 blokes at the wrong address. Either way, her quick reaction locking that door likely made all the difference. Complex predator.
The neighbor's Ring camera captured video of the most recent incident over the weekend. Before we go any further, we do want to warn you this story might be disturbing to watch.
This one's genuinely disturbing, and police are still actively searching for the man involved. Doorbell footage from an apartment complex in Lithonia, Georgia, caught a man exposing and pleasuring himself right outside a resident's front door, completely undeterred by the camera watching him. It later came out he'd followed a woman upstairs before the incident, and, disturbingly, he wasn't a one-off offender. Multiple residents in the same complex have since come forward reporting similar unsettling encounters with the same man. DeKalb County Police are treating it as an ongoing investigation, urging anyone with information to come forward. A proper reminder of how important these cameras are for catching repeat offenders in the act.
Neighbors tell us that that man followed a female resident up the stairs here early Saturday evening, then stood in the breezeway, pleasuring himself in front of her door. As she tells us, it isn't the first time she's seen him do it.
Creeping up behind. Caught on a Eufy camera in an outdoor apartment breezeway around 3 a.m., a woman in pajamas walked toward the staircase. Completely unaware of what was happening just behind her, a man in dark clothing quietly slipped out from a nearby doorway and crept up right behind her, timing his movements to stay just out of her line of sight the entire way. The footage was shared online as a "she didn't hear him creep up" moment, playful framing aside. It's the kind of clip that makes you check over your shoulder walking home. Blanket pacer. Security footage captured a stranger wrapped head to toe in a blanket, repeatedly pacing back and forth past a woman's apartment door throughout the entire night. He never approached the door directly, never knocked, just kept walking that same stretch over and over like he was working up the nerve or waiting for something. Feeling properly unsafe with him lurking that close for so long, she made the call to stay inside completely and skip walking her dog altogether that night. Sometimes the scariest thing isn't a single dramatic moment, it's just knowing someone's out there, going back and forth, for hours. Horrific clown. Late one night in Texas, security footage caught a man dressed head to toe as a clown, knife in hand, moving methodically from door to door trying to force his way inside. He tested handle after handle, each one thankfully locked tight against him, refusing to give up easily as he worked his way around the property. Eventually, unable to find a way in, he gave up and walked off into the darkness, disappearing as suddenly as he'd shown up. Whether it was a genuinely deranged attempt or an elaborate prank taken far too seriously, nobody could say for certain. Either way, a knife-wielding clown trying every door on your street is the stuff of proper nightmares. Handle turner. A figure dressed in a full clown costume approached a house late one night, moving with a slow, deliberate walk straight up to the front door. Without hesitating, he grabbed the handle and aggressively tried to force it open, rattling the door in its frame. When it wouldn't budge, he turned and stared directly into the camera for a long, silent moment before finally giving up and disappearing into the dark. No words, no explanation, just that stare. Balloon clown. Ring footage picked up a person dressed as a creepy clown, holding a bunch of black balloons, approaching a front porch in complete silence. He didn't knock, didn't try the handle, didn't do anything threatening at all. He simply stood there, staring directly into the camera lens for a long, uncomfortable stretch, balloons drifting slightly in the night air behind him. Then, just as quietly as he'd arrived, he turned around and walked off without a single word. No damage, no attempt to get inside, just an unsettling presence that left the homeowner questioning what exactly they'd just witnessed. Gate escape. This one went properly viral for all the right reasons. A 92-year-old woman living in a nursing home in Shandong, China, decided she'd had enough and made a break for it, agilely climbing straight over a 2-meter-high metal gate to escape. Viewers watching the footage were absolutely gobsmacked by her strength and determination, especially given her age. Whatever her reasons, she scaled that gate like someone half her years, proving grit doesn't exactly retire when you hit 92. Yard intruder. CCTV footage shared by a local Crime Watch page captured an intruder slipping into a gated yard late at night, moving with a confidence that suggested he wasn't a total stranger to the property. Commenters who saw the clip online speculated he seemed to know the layout a little too well, moving quickly and directly rather than stumbling about like someone unfamiliar with the space. He left behind potential clues in his wake, giving police something to work with as they try to track him down. Whether he'd been there before, nobody could confirm, but it certainly got people talking.
In the video, the key thing to notice is the mannequin.
A house security camera caught something really terrifying. The CCTV footage showed a family sitting in their lounge, a woman rolling a yarn, and her husband sitting with their daughters. While no one was seeing, the camera captured a sharp movement in the mannequin placed on a table. Then, it moved again and started looking at the man sitting there, like it was scanning the room. In the next moment, when the girl sensed something strange in the statue, she jumped from her seat and rushed over to her mother. Unsettled by the happenings in the room, her father checked if something was under the mannequin, but there was nothing there. Later, the woman revealed that her daughter had brought the model from an antique house, which was owned by a witch, and she used the mannequin for dark rituals. Dark spirit. It was September 2016 when something unsettling happened in an apartment in Italy. A guy entered his apartment after getting back from work. As he placed his helmet on the floor and went into the kitchen, he sensed something eerie around him. When he came out, a dark shape surrounded him and pulled him back into the kitchen. Luckily, he was safe. Later, when he showed the footage to his friends and family, they all said that the apartment might be haunted and he should leave the building as soon as possible. Haunting moments.
Brother has a few scary videos I thought I'd post. I am not going to be the person you go to for ghost content.
This woman's brother was encountering paranormal activities, so she decided to share his videos on her TikTok account. In one video, her brother was looking for his cat, but could not find it anywhere. He moved near to his room and suddenly the door slammed shut. Viewers could clearly see a shadow between the space in the door. What made it creepy was that there were no legs of the shadow. In another video, the indoor camera recorded small white orbs floating in front of it, and a loud groan could be heard. After a few seconds, the door on the left opened slowly, and a dark shadow sneaked across the lounge. After a few days, she posted another video in which her brother was sitting in front of his desktop working quietly. After some minutes, the light in one of the rooms flickered like someone was turning it off and on. Then, the other room's door shut intensely. The man got up to check the room but found nothing there. The woman later said that her brother had got a haunted object in his house, and incidents like these had been happening for years.
He's been haunted for a few years now, actually, and it's all because a medium once told him he has an item in his house that is possessed and are haunted.
Park ghost. In Pakistan, a guard was on night duty in a park when he recorded this unusual activity. As he passed by the ride section, something strange caught his attention. The park was completely empty when he saw two swings moving back and forth without anyone moving them. Many would say it was wind which moved them, but the man claimed that there was no wind or clouds that night, and it was completely a paranormal activity. As the clip went viral on the internet, many users said the park was built on a cemetery a few years ago, and this wasn't the first time rides moved on their own. Late night horror.
Wake up.
You are never going to sleep with your lights turned off after watching this. In Colorado, while a couple was sleeping, something really unsettling took place. Suddenly, the door began knocking and the woman woke up. Seconds later, the door opened on its own, but there was no one else in the house. Small glowing grains also started to float in front of the camera. The woman anxiously started to wake up her husband, but he didn't wake up. The video ended randomly, and we don't know what happened next.
Wake up! Wake up! Oh my God, baby.
On-camera disturbance. While two women were packing their things to go on a vacation, they experienced something that left them speechless. As they were standing next to their table, lights started to flicker intensely. At first, they thought it was an electricity issue, but then the empty chair moved without anyone touching it too.
Man, come on.
They ran towards the outside. After they left, the door behind the chair was also seen closing on its own, making the footage more creepy. The video has left everyone stunned, and many claimed whatever was inside the house was disturbed by their presence.
Come on, Mom. Come on, Mom.
Screaming woman. In January 2026, a strange incident took place in California. While the family was on vacation, they received an unsettling notification that their home CCTV camera had picked up voices inside the empty house. The recordings left them terrified, capturing voices of a woman screaming and screeching loudly. The footage ended abruptly with the unseen voice shouting, "Get out!" As soon as they received the footage, the family sold their house to someone else when they returned from their vacation.
Get
Live stream terror.
Too late to go back to sleep. It's time to trust my instincts.
Two girls were going live on TikTok when things took a terrifying turn. They were singing songs when the door behind them opened on its own. The elder one didn't take notice of it, but the younger one kept watching. Suddenly, the water bottle dropped on its own and the door closed again. The girls rushed out of their room calling their dad for help.
Dad! Dad! Dad!
And the video stopped abruptly, like it had been ended by something else. That was their last live video, and no one has ever heard from them since then.
Gravity, I think I'll...
Paranormal warning.
Is there anything in your... Whoa.
While a man used to be alone in his home, he experienced some paranormal activities happening around, things moving on their own, and unknown voices coming from the rooms. Since he wasn't a believer, he decided to test them. One day, he placed the remote of his TV and called something out. The remote flipped and was thrown aside by an unseen force. On another day, he again summoned something by placing a bowl of apples in his hall, and it too moved on its own. At first, it seemed fascinating, but then the entities refused to leave his house, showing themselves by opening and closing kitchen cabinets and throwing objects such as glasses and books on the floor. A challenge that started as a fun game turned into far more horrible. Breathing ceiling.
Something f***ing wrong with this hotel room.
Alaska is famous around the world for its strange activities, fueled by its isolation and folklore. In 2015, a man booked a hotel room during his vacation in Alaska. As he was staying there, he experienced some strange happenings in it. He decided to record the whole incident on his phone. What the recording showed was terrifying. It showed the ceiling of his hotel room ruffling rapidly, as if someone was walking fastly above it. It looked like the ceiling itself was breathing.
Oh my God.
As he faced these things repeatedly, he became more terrified by the strange encounters, deciding to leave the place. The clip went viral quickly, and online users said they had similar experiences in various hotels in Alaska.
We need a new hotel room. Yeah, f*** that.
Corridor entity. This chilling clip was caught by a camera in 2015. Inside a hotel, a man was going to his room when a dark shadow appeared to take him down. It first cornered him and then dragged him across the hallway. The man moved anxiously, trying to break himself free from the ghost. Luckily, he managed to escape from its grip and ran away. Stunned and confused, he rushed outside, but the shadow was still seen following him in the corridor. From that day on, he changed his hotel room, but the shadow still stayed with him. The problem might not be the location, but the person himself. Dinner gone wrong. This woman was preparing a candlelight dinner for her husband when the evening took a disturbing turn. Standing in the kitchen, she leaned forward to blow out a candle. Behind her, a cabinet door slowly creaked open and then slammed shut on its own, like something else was sharing the kitchen with her. Startled, but trying to stay calm, she began filling a glass with water. Suddenly, a box opened on the counter, and another cabinet opened on its own. No one was near them. Panic rising, she left everything and rushed out, calling for her husband in fear. After the incident, they called on a priest. The priest blessed the house, and things went normal again. Dark shadows. This man set up the camera in the kitchen to record his routine, but what the camera captured terrified him. While he was doing the dishes, strange activities started to take place. Two shadows appeared near the door, and the stuffed doll lying on a chair started to move on its own, like someone was picking it up. Suddenly, the man screamed loudly in fear, as if he felt something nearby, and left the kitchen. After he left, multiple shadows could be seen roaming in the room, while one of them followed him towards the outside. The man later said that he heard something growling in his ear, which panicked him, forcing him to rush outside without looking back.
Oh,
Room of screams. This footage dates back to September 2003. In a hotel, cameras recorded some bone-chilling screams from one of the empty rooms, and the security officers decided to check it. When one of the officers went outside the room, he heard loud and horrible screams coming from inside. The officers behind the camera told him not to enter the room as they were calling the police. Despite their stopping him, he entered the room. As he stepped in,
John's gonna enter the room real quick just to check, make sure, see what's going on.
a white shadow was seen coming out fastly, going towards the hallway. The officer later stated that there was no one in the room, but the furniture was turned upside down and the carpets were torn apart. The footage stands as one of the most compelling evidence of ghost sightings still haunting people today. The Night Visitor. A man named Berlin Birch shared his horrifying experience on his YouTube channel some 3 years ago. Late one night, he stepped outside his home to visit his friend. As he was putting his bag in his car, he saw a strange white shadow moving on the road. At first, he thought he was hallucinating, but when he watched the recording of that night, he became sure that it was a real spirit he had seen outside his house. What do you think it was? An actual ghost or something else? Street spirit. Late at night, a boy was playing outside his house in India. He was running here and there playfully, but suddenly sensing something unusual around him, he suddenly rushed into his house. Later, the camera revealed a white spirit roaming in the street. The man sitting on the motorcycle didn't sense anything, but the camera recorded it all. Some viewers might say this was some smoke coming out from the house, but the perfect shape and movement of the shadow says otherwise. Cursed home. Something strange happened in a house in Minnesota in September 2020. While a woman was busy with her daily chores, she felt like someone else was present with her in the kitchen. Suddenly, the objects started to move on their own behind her. First, a lemon dropped from the table, and the light above started to swing slowly. She turned back to look and found nothing there. Then, the bottle on the table fell over. Suspecting something unusual, she turned around to grab the bottle. What happened next shook her to the core. Something had dragged the bottle and thrown it on the floor while she was reaching for it. Shaken by what she had seen, she ran towards her room. The video ended abruptly, and no one knows what happened next. Ghostly conversation. An old creepy video from Karachi, Pakistan has started to resurface again on the internet. It showed a government officer briefing some empty chairs inside his office. It looked like he was practicing for an upcoming meeting until this happened. While talking to the empty chairs, he suddenly got up from his seat and said, "Move aside and let him come." He was welcoming someone invisible. The chairs moved on their own, as something invisible was dragging and moving them. The man recording the video ran away from the office as soon as he saw the whole unsettling thing. Spooky, isn't it? Haunted hospital. On July 27th, 2022, a shocking video was recorded by a visitor in a hospital in Pakistan. The hospital looked gloomy, and some patients were sitting on the benches waiting for their turns. Suddenly, they saw the doctor rushing over in panic in the hallway, as if something was following him. As they were watching the doctor running from the hospital, an empty wheelchair entered the hallway. In the next moment, it turned towards them. What frightened them all was that it was moving on its own. The doctor later confirmed that he was being followed by his patient's spirit, who had deceased several months ago during a surgery. Haunted hospital. At 2:03 a.m., the hospital security camera recorded something no one has been able to explain. In a quiet corridor, a janitor was mopping the floor routinely. While the janitor was unaware of it, the empty wheelchair near the wall began rolling without anyone behind it. It moved steadily in the corridor for a while and then stopped on its own. When the staff reviewed the footage, one of them said it was the same chair on which a patient passed away a few days back. Maybe it was the soul of that patient still roaming on that wheelchair. Unseen visitor. In late 2025, a family moved into a new house in Australia. Everything was normal until one day something unsettling happened. As the woman was cooking food in the kitchen with her child, the door of the refrigerator opened on its own. The moment shocked her, and she turned around to see if someone was there behind them, but no one was there. The neighbors said the house was possessed as something serious had happened to the previous members a few years back. Ghostly toy car.
This mother started recording after her son's toy car started moving on its own like something was inside of it.
In Australia, an adorable mother-son moment took a terrifying turn. As the woman was sitting in her lounge, she saw something strange happening to her son's toy car in front of her. The toy car started moving on its own, like something invisible was driving it, and she started recording it. Suddenly, she called her son to have a look at his car. What happened next was really unsettling.
Braylon? Braylon? What's happening with your car?
As the child approached it, the car stopped and the driver's door opened on its own. Frightened by what he had seen, he ran away immediately. Later, the woman threw the car out of her house, but strange activities still lingered around. Haunted reflection. This clip can be really disturbing for some viewers. A man was at work when he received a notification that his motion security camera had detected something really haunting. The footage showed his dog roaming in the TV lounge. The reflection in the TV showed the dog barking at an invisible entity. The dog moved away a bit anxiously, and then something wrenched off his collar, throwing it aside. Many people said the dog may have pulled it off on its own, but the owner said the collar was far more secure to be removed by it. Till this day, the man believes an invisible force did this to his dog. Shadow in woods. In India, footage from a school at night shocked everyone. Students had been reporting about disappearing things, broken desks, and misplaced objects for months. One day, while the staff was reviewing the CCTV footage, they were stunned. At 2 a.m., a chair suddenly started to slide across the floor on its own, and objects were seen tossed around by an invisible force, making it look like the school was possessed by a ghost. Moments later, a drawer opened, and the chair moved again with no one nearby. From that day on, everyone was convinced the school wasn't truly empty at night. Flickering room. Just after Christmas vacation, a guard came to his office and noticed something disturbing in the office's footage. As he was viewing it, he saw a desk lamp flickering through the dark room, and then the room lights and the sliding door closes on its own. After a few moments, some desk drawers slid open and shut. Suddenly, the lamp flickered for the last time, and the door closed again. The guard replayed the footage frame by frame, but found no one in the room. Employees working in the office later said that they also had experienced paranormal activities at night, and the office seemed haunted. Ghost Rider. In January 2026, a man was watching the footage of his street when he saw something unexpected. The atmosphere was calm, and nothing seemed out of place at first. Suddenly, a bike started to move on its own, making a circular movement. After a few seconds, it fell down, leaving the man disturbed. Not believing what he saw, he went outside to check, but found no one there. The clip was shared non-stop by social media users. Many said it was a camera glitch, while others said it was a ghost rider riding the bike. Unwelcome presence. After experiencing strange things in her newly bought house, a woman decided to record everything on camera. As she walked through the hallway, she heard a loud thump from another room and noticed a light bulb swinging as if something had just moved past it.
Oh my god.
Moments later, the kitchen lights started flickering. When she stepped inside, the lights suddenly stopped flickering, but the drawers and cabinets were now open. Confused and shaken, she backed away. Suddenly, another heavy thud rang out, and the lights went out completely. Breathing heavily, she stopped recording and left the house that night, and never returned. Prayer interrupted.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين.
In Saudi Arabia, a man was praying in his home when the camera captured something disturbing. As he began his prayer, the prayer mat slowly slid from beneath his feet, as if being pulled away. Moments later, the table and chairs nearby shifted on their own. Despite the movement around him, the man continued praying without stopping. Gradually, everything returned to normal. Later, when he showed the footage to a scholar, he suggested the house might be inhabited by unseen evil forces that were disturbed by his prayer. However, many online viewers believed his prayers were what protected him.
الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين.
Spooky box.
I am freaked out, and there's no way in hell I'm going up there.
You should never buy things from unknown places, and this video shows why. A man had been hearing a strange, creepy noise coming from his attic, but when he went there, he found nothing inside. For a few days, the noise continued.
Can somebody please tell me what the hell I'm supposed to do? Oh my god.
Finally, he installed a CCTV camera inside and checked the recording. The visuals shocked him. He saw the box moving that he had recently brought from an antique house, like something was trying to come out of it. Later, he went to the shop owner, asking him about the box. He told him that the box belonged to a little girl who had passed away in mysterious circumstances, and it might be possessed by her soul. Unseen runner. In January 2025, a man's girlfriend told him that her house was haunted. Out of curiosity, he went to her house to meet her. As he was sitting in the lounge waiting, he started hearing unusual sounds from upstairs, like someone was walking there.
I've never heard it until now.
To check who it was, he went near the stairs and challenged the unseen force to come down. What happened next terrified him. He started hearing loud running footsteps on the stairs, and a force tried to take him down. Later, he showed the video to his girlfriend, and she decided to leave the house immediately.
Oh my god.
Possessed doll.
Esta tacita, rosita, y esta tacita.
In Brazil, a girl was showing her toys on TikTok live when one of the toys started acting unexpectedly. A small doll behind her moved its hand and knocked over a toy cup. The girl didn't notice anything, but the viewers did. Unaware of what had happened, the girl again started to display her toys until she saw the doll again move its arm. Afraid by what she had seen, she screamed and rushed over to her mother, ending the live stream. It was revealed later that she had bought it from a yard sale, and the doll was possessed by a demon.
Huevo.
Terrifying footage. In 2022, a couple moved into a new house in California. After a few days, they started hearing footsteps and lights turning on and off on their own at night. They installed a CCTV camera to check what happens at night, and they captured this. Suddenly, some tiny glowing objects appeared in front of the camera, and the light turned off completely. In that darkness, they saw a black figure appearing and getting out of the room. In the next moment, the light turned on and nothing was there. The couple was convinced that the house was possessed, and they needed to change it immediately. Ghostly conversation. Hearing about a haunted park in Maryland, a couple went there to see it. As they stopped outside the park, they saw a lone swing moving to and fro fastly with no one around it. Just for fun, they started calling out loudly who was on the swing.
Are you real?
Are you real?
The next moment caught them completely off guard. A child's reply came from the empty swing saying, "I don't tell." The conversation continued, and they asked if she was having fun. The invisible figure replied, "If I stop, will you run? And I can't leave beyond the fence."
Yeah.
Suddenly, the man started the car and drove off fastly. He later revealed that they heard a loud growl and someone hitting the fence forcefully before they said goodbye.
Oh, what the f***?
Attic ghost. While a man was staying at his son's house, he received a notification from the camera in his own home. When he opened the alert, he was stunned. The footage showed the attic ladder slowly unlocking, then dropping down on its own. Suddenly, a large box crashed from the attic to the floor. Moments later, the rest of the ladder unfolded completely, as if something had just climbed down. After watching the video, the man decided not to return home. He later claimed he had brought the box from his friend's abandoned house a few months earlier and believed it carried something with it. House ghost. Expecting a fresh start, a man moved into a new house in France, but he didn't know what was awaiting ahead. At first, he experienced nothing, but then strange things began to happen. One day, he was sitting in his room when the door opposite to his room opened on its own. As he stood up to check, the door of his room also moved on its own like someone was closing it slowly. Feeling uneasy, he went into the living room. Suddenly, a dining chair started to move on its own, and he heard someone knocking loudly behind him. Soon he realized that he wasn't alone, and whatever else was in the house didn't want him there. Shopping mall apparition.
Watch. What is that? What is that?
In Indonesia, a security guard started his new job at a shopping mall. Everything was going on normally, when one day he suspected a man planning to steal from the men's section. In order to save the footage, he started recording it. But then, he saw something unbelievable. Something really strange appeared near the man's foot and disappeared immediately. It seemed like a mysterious creature with a grim face. Doubtful about what he had seen, the guard replayed the video frame by frame and watched the unknown thing appearing and vanishing without a whoosh.
It's there, and no, it's not.
Midnight intruder. This short clip alone is enough to give anyone chills. Late-night CCTV footage showed a couple approaching a grocery store, but found it closed. After they went away, the camera glitched and a lone man appeared, walking straight through the locked glass doors as if they weren't there. The moment he entered, the lights inside began flickering. Outside, a sleeping man suddenly woke up as the lights flashed, looking around in confusion. Moments later, the figure exited the store the same way he entered, passing through the closed doors without resistance. Was this glitch in the Matrix, or was he a ghost entering the store? Glowing orb. A home security camera in California captured something unusual late at night. The footage showed a faint glowing object drifting slowly in front of the camera before floating across the garden. It didn't appear to follow a straight path, instead hovered and shifted direction as if moving deliberately. After the clip was shared online, it quickly gained attention. Viewers were left divided and unsure of what they were seeing. Was it simply dust reflecting light, an insect passing close to the lens, or something far more mysterious? Brave guard.
Yeah, I saw that. I saw that.
This hospital footage caught something really unsettling in 2019. While a guard was on his night shift, he saw an eerie white shadow moving in front of him, like it was leaving the hospital. At first, he couldn't believe what he was watching, but then he stood up and tried to calm himself. Viewers were also left stunned, with many saying they had never seen someone acting so bravely when countering a ghost-like figure. However, the guard later left the hospital and went somewhere else to work.
Okay, so I looked at the camera, I was like, you know what, I'm gonna calm down.
Invisible patient. This is another chilling clip from a hospital. It showed a guard on night duty sitting behind the desk. Everything seemed normal until the front door slowly opened on its own. He rose from his chair and began greeting and assisting someone no one could see. He wrote something on his letter pad and guided the unseen figure down the hallway. Later, the camera captured him offering a wheelchair to empty air. The next morning, after watching the footage, he was visibly shaken. He insisted he had been helping an old woman the previous night, but no one else had seen her.
That's a wrap on today's Weird Corner of the World. If any of this got to you, even a little, leave it in the comments. Like, subscribe, and come back tomorrow. We've already got something lined up that'll make today look tame. Thank you so much for watching.